Okay, thank you for your contribution, Ayaka. Next is Abok.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wekesa. I don't know whether you're able to hear me very well.
You are loud and clear.
Oh, okay.
Kindly, when I mute you
Okay.
guys, you remain muted. Huh? There are people who are unmuting like Mala.
Yeah, first of all, I want to start by where or what my friend Ayaga has talked about, because I've listened to a lot of discussions here, and people are digressing, and they would want to expand this discussion beyond the scope for which the CS was summoned. You know, just like Ayaga said, CS does not just plan to have a meeting with a committee of security, a parliamentary committee. And therefore, when he was summoned, he must have been summoned using a particular letter with certain scopes. In other words, with certain questions of concern. And those were the questions that CS Matiang'i was responding to. And I believe the MPs, and especially from DP side, for those who are supporting him, missed a glorious opportunity, even to ask some of the pertinent questions around security of VVIPs. And therefore, I don't want to blame CS Matiang'i on anything, because he was just responding to what those members of parliament were asking him. However, that notwithstanding, we should actually expand or try to expand this discussion regarding the protection of VVIPs in the country. Because as it looks today, the allocation will depend on how well you relate with the current government. But is it an issue of policy, or is it an issue of law? Or what laws do we have regulating allocation of security officers to president, to deputy, to members of parliament, to former presidents, to former vice presidents, etc.? I listened to CS, and he actually challenged the MPs to tell him exactly which law requires him to allocate how many security officers to who. So I think the question that we should be, the debate that we should be involving ourselves in, including our MPs, do we have laws that are governing the allocation of security officers to these people who are elected or those who have been in those offices before? I would again say the government will treat you depending on how you relate with it if there are no laws governing your relationship. I've had, again, the issue of the office of the deputy president and the holder of that particular office. Then my question would be tonight, what is the relationship between morality and law? As I was taught somewhere, that sometimes you may become immoral, but you don't break the law. But the society will punish you because you have gone against some of the norms, values, and virtues of that particular society. Now, we have the legal position of the office of the president. And then we have the occupant of the office. As I said again, there is no law regulating how many officers to be allocated to this particular office. And therefore, the number to which this person is going to enjoy is solely dependent on how best he or she relates with the current government. As it is now, all of us know that Deputy President does not enjoy that close relationship with his boss. So the discussion that we should actually propagate is, can we have a law that is regulating how many officers and which premises are allowed to be to be secured by public or security officers? When security officers are allocated to areas outside of uh, outside of where they are supposed to be. For example, when you see a police officer in a bank, the bank is required to pay facilitation fee, not salary. I've heard someone saying that these people are being paid by the deputy president. Are they on deputy president's payroll? No. The 1,000 or 500 shillings are only paid to facilitate them to be in a place which originally or naturally, by virtue of their position, they are not supposed to be. If you talk about private businesses, it is what they are required to pay. The directors or the owners of those companies are supposed to facilitate the police officers to those premises. And that is how it has been. That does not convert them to be their employees, as one of us has alluded to. Now, the question is, what if I'm the president and I own 1,000 businesses? Do we have law regulating this? And my brother, I have 7 brothers, and maybe each of them happen to own 10 businesses. Do we have laws regulating the extent to which my privileges as the president can be extended to family members? As it stands, maybe there are no, or we are enjoying impunity. Now, I want to ask this question, or maybe discuss this. I talked about morality and law. And sometimes I've heard people talking about, not even on this platform, but even else, we have heard people talking about Matiang'i should respect the office of the deputy president. Respect is two-way traffic. You attract what you give. They say, from the abundance of the heart, so the heart speaks. And what you speak will only either attract the likes or will cause repulsion in terms of whom your audience is. Now, in that regard, according to the standards maybe of the current government, I never voted for this government, but I enjoy how they relate and how they just do their things which are out of the ordinary, out of this world. We were told that they were God chosen. I wonder if this is how God does his work. But now, let's look at the morality, or the morality of the office holder and the people around him. Let's not talk about even the office of the president. Let's talk about the surrounding people around this person. And how do they speak? How do they even articulate their issues? I think the issue that we should be very, very careful about right now are the utterances of people around the person of the deputy president. I don't want to imagine that if you are the deputy president, or you are the CS, then because your office should be respected, you should just go around misbehaving, expecting people to respect your office, and separate you from that particular office. No. There is a way in which, and someone said it very clearly, someone is behaving unpresidential, and the people around him are also messing him very, very much. I can tell you, if I was the president for the Republic of Kenya and I had such a deputy president, I think even the president is very, very patient with him up to this particular moment. Lastly, I want to disagree with some of us here who are talking about us being youth. I'm speaking on behalf of youth, or we as youth. Ruto is not a youth. Uhuru is not a youth. Raila Odinga is not a youth. And a lot more of these other leaders, like the Oka guys, they are not young people. So when we say that we are majority, are we fronting Jimmy Wanjigi because he is young or because he's not known? Jimmy Wanjigi is known because his father was Maina Wanjigi, a very prominent and a very powerful cabinet minister then in the then government. So he's not a hustler if we have to go by that narrative. So if we have to go by that narrative of youth, then we have even to start by unlearning the old things, relearning new things, and even preparing our minds to take leadership at our own level. But if we involve ourselves in praising these old folks, they are just the same all over. The last thing that I want to say is about land, which are now people talking about, and the number of security officers that these other people are enjoying. You know, if you are caught stealing, then we were two. Then you say that, you know, hata ule mwingine umeacha ameenda, pia tulikuwa na yeye. Ama for those who are driving, you have overlapped because umeona watu wengine waki-overlap, lakini wewe ndio umeshikwa. So unaambia police officer, unajua sasa unanishika na umeacha wale wanaendelea. Yeah? You are involving yourself in a self-defeating argument. You are, in other words, admitting kwamba ume-overlap ama umeiba. So unanishika kwa sababu nimeiba na ule mwingine hujamshika. When we want to talk about the issue of land, and here it was specifically about deputy president and what he owns and how the police officers or security officers are deployed to secure some of his properties. So if you want to say that Matiang'i pia atuambie, that is another debate altogether. That Raila pia tuambiwe amepewa ngapi. That is also another different point altogether. So if we have to argue objectively and critically, then let's avoid self-defeating statements and let us replace strategy. Let us replace emotions with strategy, and we shall be very, very good. Thank you.
Kenya tukitaka kuchagua president mwenye hana kitu, si tunataka yule president ako na kitu. Na sasa sisi tukiwa wa Kenya tukitaka kuchagua president mwenye hana kitu, si tunataka yule president ako na kitu.
Okay, wa Kenya mnasema nini? Mnataka president ako na kitu, si ndio?
Yeah, asla mwenye ako na kitu.
Aya, we are going to Robert.